So this is step one of how I prep 223 brass. All I have is one station set up with size and deprime, and all I do is run a bunch of brass through. I got a bunch of brass sitting here. I have more brass sitting down there. Just run it through piece by piece. Oops, a little bit hard with the camera here. And all I'm doing is sizing right now, and then of course with each piece I'm also checking the good old case gauge on where we should be falling, and lines it pretty good there. Below the low edge, or above the low edge, and below the high edge. So now that the brass has been sized and deprimed, I have a Giraud powered case trimmer here. Runs you about $425, but definitely better than some of the alternatives like a hand drill, or I used to have the Dillon one. Great unit. It's pretty loud, but as summer gets here, I've been moving most of my reloading activities, as many as I can, indoors. This is one that I can knock out pretty quickly, and the motor's kind of loud, so you may not hear me over the motor, but that's it right there. Put it in, give it a quarter turn. You can tell which ones really need to be trimmed, and this can be oriented vertically or horizontally, as I have it. So far, I haven't trimmed anything. You'll hear it when it gives a good buzz. So far, nothing. These are all pretty well trimmed. It comes preset, and it comes in. I don't have my calipers with me, but it comes in right at where it should be for a 223 casing. That one got a little bit off. Not enough to show you on camera, though. But I can do about 20, 30 rounds a minute, maybe. That one got trimmed, so I don't know if you can see that or not. Does a good job on the inside and the outside of the case mouth. But I can sit here for a while, and then I move on to primer pockets. So the last step in prepping 223 brass after I have deprimed, sized, and trimmed is to remove the military crimp and clean out those primer pockets and make sure that I'm not going to get any stuck primers on my 550 when I'm reloading. I bought this Lyman Xpress. It was about 110 or 120 bucks from Amazon. I really like this unit compared to the other ones just because number one, it has 5 stations, and 2, it comes with a lot of tools already to get started. A few of the tools I've already replaced, which I'll show you in a second, but I really like the way this one is set up. The motor seems powerful enough for what I need. Comes with both large and small primer heads. Comes with a little thing of dry case lube, which I'll never use. A little brush to help clean up some of the shards. Some people say a shop vac works just as good. I like this brush actually to clean off some of the heads as I go. But I really like this station a lot, and I'll show you why here. First, I'll show you what tools I have and kind of the order that I've picked for optimum efficiency, I guess. So I have, this one is actually, if you can see, zoom in a little closer, this one's actually a little brush. It's got bristles on it. It's a Hornady piece, I believe, and I'll turn the motor on for this. Hopefully you guys can still hear me, but right now I'll just take a piece of brass that needs to be processed. Let me find kind of a dirty one to show you. That's what we'll be dealing with right there. Kind of hard to see it zoomed in macro mode on this camera, but first thing we'll do is take this and just brush it. And you can already see it's much cleaner just after that first step. You can see that, there you go. And then I'll zoom out. Next step is actually a cleaner. Before I go on, people complained about this first piece because they say the bristles fray. I've done already about 1,000 rounds on it. Don't see much movement on the bristles, but for $4 I think it's a pretty valuable tool. This one is also a primer cleaner. This one's also by Hornady. This one is more of a just a metal, or I guess steel piece that goes in flush and cleans it out even more. You can see it's starting to really shine. The pieces that came with it, the Lyman pieces, the cleaner is actually a little bit different looking if I can get to it. It actually looks like this. So you can see the difference, turn this off, between the two pieces. This one's more of a blade type that cuts, and this one's flat and uniform. I definitely prefer this one. It seems to be a little more efficient. And this is where I remove the military crimp. This one doesn't appear to have one. I'll throw it on there anyway just to be sure. Took off a little material. You can feel it as you go. You get a feel for it. And then the last step, which is the primer pocket uniformer, which for this piece it really didn't do a whole lot. I did have the order a little bit different before. I had this in the station. I guess this is what I call station 1 just because of the order I'm working from. I'm pulling brass from over here and dumping it over there, but you can do this in any order you want. But I did have this in the first position, and I noticed that when I would run a few pieces of dirty brass through on the uniformer, this thing gets real nasty. Then you start having to wipe down the bottom of each piece. That's primed, actually. As you go, it'd get a little bit gummed up on the bottom. So I moved this to the last station, so I'm not having to brush off all the time. Seems to be a little more efficient. Lastly, kind of an unnecessary step in my eyes. I haven't seen a whole lot of value in it. By now the case lube is mostly dried, but you can run it through this on each one. It's hard to do with the camera in my way, but a little brush right there in a stationary position. Just run those through the brush, and then off to the dump bin. And then last thing, if I see a piece that has a pretty strong crimp on it, this one's a little bit hard to see. I've noticed that some of the Spear brass and Lake City brass and a couple other brands have a real strong crimp where if I put it on here, it's not going to want to cooperate. I mean, I can get it eventually, but it's going to wear that bit out. Instead of doing that, what I'll do is I'll just use this piece, which is designed for hitting the inside of the case lip. I'll actually just use it for the primer pocket. And once I see a little bit of brass, you can see it right there, a little bit of brass pop off there, and then I'll check the case. I'll know it's good to run through all the steps again. So brush, clean, still a little material to remove, but much easier now. And then primer pocket uniformer, and it's actually doing a little bit on the uniforming right there. I can feel it pushing up a little bit. Good to load.